Welcome to another edition of Tech Fireside Chats with your host, Joel Martin. Take it away, Joel.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm going to grab my other cup because that one said hubby. This one says, we love you, Grandma Hollywood.
Oh, well, good morning. And today on our show, we have Heather Blair, one of the most unique marketing gurus I know in the country, calling us live from North Hollywood, right by Universal Studios. So it's great to see you again. Cheers. Good morning. Cheers.
Cheers. Good morning. I'm going to use 2 cups because that's a kind
okay. There you go. Get your coffee.
I do.
Extra early for you. And we have a special episode because we've been having a lot of episodes about esports, and we've had the CEO of Talent Simulations, Brandon Nichols, on the show. We had a couple of esport journalists. We had some game developers. We have had an attorney who represents several esports companies and video game companies, John Laster Law. And today we have somebody who's breaking. How do I say it? Without bragging too much, let's brag. You're my friend. Breaking ground and making innovation happen across multiple industries. I've known you from the cinema world. You're a cinema maven from CinemaCon. Actually, Heather, where did we meet? We met at Film East, was it?
No, we met at Show East.
Show East.
And
That was Miami Beach. Great show. I think were you there? We saw Aquaman like 6 or 7 months before it came out. It was amazing.
You get to see all the movies when they were releasing them.
Yeah, there were a couple cool movies we saw like 6-7 months before they came out. So yeah, Phil.
It happens this year. Show
East. But we've hung out at some of the coolest shows in the world for amusements and technology. IAPA. I think we missed each other at CinemaCon in Vegas, but we were both walking around. Anyways, I'm so glad you made it today. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about the cinema and esports maven, Heather Blair. How you doing today?
I'm good, and I'm glad that you felt I was a worthy contender for your show because I enjoy what I do, and I love to share, the journey.
You're a great connector. You everybody knows you, which I think is fantastic. And you're also president of Women in Exhibitions, which I think more people should pay attention to. Coming from an events, meetings, and trade show background, I always say, look, that's an industry that it's 85-95% women. We actually just talked about that 2 episodes ago.
The exhibition market that I'm part of is cinema exhibition.
Yes.
And it's not. It's actually predominantly male. Yeah,
it's like 90% male. It's a background. Yeah. So it's fun. You beat me to the punch. That's exactly one of the things I wanted to talk about today. So isn't that funny how Hollywood is not? I mean, even the exhibitor cinema industry is not representative in a weird way. It's like the inverse of that other industry I was just talking about, the meetings industry. So it's still predominantly male. It's still heavily West Coast, right? And it's reinventing itself. I think that's what we should talk about today. First, who you are, what you do. Maybe we talk a little bit about that. Let me set the format out. Right. Okay. Let's talk about, Engine Media. Let's talk about Women in Exhibitions. And then let's talk about the changes, because I can't log on to LinkedIn or look at CNN or Fox or anywhere. Movie theaters are still in the news because it's drastically changing. So let's start. Heather, who are you? Where do you come from? Who is this person?
Yeah. So I'm a California girl that was raised in upstate New York and then raised in Texas. So I had kind of half of my life in either state, and moved to California wasn't sure what I was going to do. Wasn't sure what my career path would be. Came in town and worked for Frank Zappa briefly, which saw he's got a documentary coming out. I'm kind of cool. That. But I decided that I was going to get a job, and I knew that somebody would hire me. And I went back to Texas, got one last modeling gig for my agent, had enough money to survive, came back to California, went to a major city or little area in the city called Century City, went to the kiosk of one of the tall buildings, called every single company that was listed, asking them if they were looking for help. And there was a man watching me for like 20 minutes, go back and forth to the kiosk, to the payphone. And he goes, "What do you do?" And I go, "Nothing really. I'm sort of an actress and I'm looking for a job." He said, "If you knew what a salesperson acted like, you think you could act like one?" I said, "Sure. Yeah. What are you selling?" So he said, "Well, You're an actress, you need lights and cameras and props, sets, stages, special effects. I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, we sell all those people advertising, and then we give this directory away to decision makers. So that's how I got into my sales world. I left that company after 10 years, and I met my clients face to face for 10 years, which is now we're kind of going back to that because we're doing it through Zoom. But
it's weird, but a lot of people are, and sorry to jump in, a lot of people are criticizing what's happening. Oh, it's not, I don't go to the office. I don't see people face to face. I think I'm spending more time with interesting people one-on-one now in the post COVID apocalypse than I did before.
I see every hour. It's next. And some of them that I've missed, which I'll get to as we get through the story, but I've had more fun with people I hadn't seen in a long time because we're spending an hour chatting when I've missed them because they were always on the road somewhere. But when I built that directory, I then left that company and built a global one for themed attractions. And I had a lot of my companies follow me to the other one. Several $100,000 worth of advertisers followed me. And then I built Themed Entertainment 411, which is a global resource for themed attractions.
Fantastic. They need help right now. They definitely need COVID solutions. They need healthcare solutions. There's so many things that the IAPA world that we're both connected to urgently need to step up their game. And we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so you built quite, and I think it was We Market for You, right?
What happened was I started networking these clients. I mean, I knew so many of them. I'd walk into an office and I'd see somebody needed something and I could connect them to somebody else. So that became that, as you mentioned, the connector thing. And I got so good at it, I figured, well, I might as well make a company, We Market for You. And it was like, if you wanted to hire me to help you with your trade show, some companies hire me just to look at their materials and go, from a fresh set of eyes, can you tell me, are we spot on? And I'm like, I don't know what the hell you do, so no.
A 60-page deck is just nobody's gonna read this.
And I do that all the time because it's like I can see things from a marketing standpoint, even though I'm a salesperson, I have the marketing background, so I kind of can combine the two. Well, I started consulting for a lot of those companies that I sold advertising to back in those days, back in the 90s. And one of the companies that I sold advertising to in both directories brought me on to help them grow their themed attraction business. And within 6 months, they brought in a new product called their Cinema Series seat. And just out of curiosity, I said, I wonder if the movie cinemas want your product. And they said, go for it. And I asked them if I could exclusively represent them in the cinema market. And they said, sure. So I jumped into cinema not knowing anyone. And again, I like to show this stuff.
I like that you have props. I'm a big believer in props to show people stuff. We're not showing websites. We're really talking about relationship marketing and getting back to basics, which is, can people depend on you?
That's my list of the cinemas that I called. You can see that I wrote their names, circled them. I still have it.
Yeah.
So I'm old school, OG. Yeah. So I kind of laugh when I talk to a lot of the younger people. I always say, I have underwear older than you and I'm wearing them.
So this is how you got into the field, right?
And so I started working within the cinema market, and I became very close to a lot of these cinema executives in the C-level suite. Is this where
now? I'm just trying to move it along because we're at the 8-minute mark. But is this where women in cinema esports came out of? That's pretty recent, right?
Both of them come out. Women in exhibition and in cinema esports were both created at the same time.
Okay.
And it was pretty simple. Number one, I had a little gender discrimination going on, right? And just the fact, it was not a fun thing. So I went to a bunch of other thought leaders within the cinema space, asking the ladies if they would like to just join forces with me to shine a spotlight on other females. So we are global, and it's fantastic. And I had sent out an email to all the cinemas. I have over 800 people listed in my e-blast list, what they might be interested in.
And sorry to jump in. I noticed that about you. I think you were at the Holovis booth at IAPA 2 years ago, right? And I was, I think we came by, and you had people from like Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia and people from the Middle East, and you knew people literally from all over the world. And I'm pretty connected, and I know people from all over the world. But to see somebody who's and there's people walking by and saying hello to you, I thought that was very cool. And we weren't doing business at the time, and I was like, oh my God, half the world knows her. That's amazing, right? I love that because I can relate to it.
My women in exhibition, sometimes I'll do a virtual happy hour on a Sunday so that I can have Sweden and Dubai. And
I saw that on LinkedIn that you had that this week.
Yeah, very fun. So both of these things were kind of going simultaneously. And when I asked the cinemas what they were interested in, a very large portion wrote me back and said, we'd like to understand esports. And so from the mind of a salesperson, I thought, if I can help them figure out esports, maybe somebody within that ecosystem will hire me. So, long story short, was one of the companies that I had pursued to help me kind of work with the cinemas hired me. They just said, they learned that my background was ad sales. And I said, well, what I'd like to do is keep one hand still in cinema. So I'll come in and I'll do your brand partnerships and sales, but let's keep an eye on providing cinemas with the full turnkey esports solution. And I want to keep with my women in exhibition because I'm their founder and president. And I want to stay and see that to something fantastic. So they said, that's fine. Then they also asked me if I would lead a female-driven initiative for Engine Media. And so I'm going to be working on Gamer Safe Place, which is an opportunity for women to game in a safe place. And so that'll be a webinar, there'll be a tournament series, and then there'll be a show to follow. So I've got a lot of initiatives going on.
Wow, that is a lot going on. So, okay, so we're at the present. The world's changing.
Yeah.
Your relationship marketing, you head up all these groups, which I think are fantastic, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about how you got into the field. So let me see, what's going on now? I mean, tell me about the world of cinema and how it's crossing over to esports in this post-COVID world. Maybe that's where we have to talk about.
They're going through the news every day. This one's closed, this one's open, drive-ins are happening. Yeah. And over and over and over and over and over, there's no content. Studios are going to streaming. Studios are, holding their releases till the next year. Everybody's in survival mode. So that's
I'm a little critical of that because I think when things are bad is when you have to innovate. You have to stand out from the crowd. You have to bring something new to the industry, and just hunkering down, putting your head down. Just if you're not innovating, if you're not expanding, you might as well be dying, right? Or you have to pivot. And I think that I don't see that happening. Like the several conversations I've had with theater owners, for the last 6 months, they've been saying, we're not going to require masks unless we're forced to by the state. We're not going to put any intelligent kiosks that cost money to sanitize people or check temperature or anything like that. And now I'm starting to see that change. I'm seeing theaters saying, we're going to have masks. We're going to have, sanitation. We're going to make sure.
Because they're trying to not be political. And that's the problem is like the minute you make a stand that's not been mandated, now you're taking one side or the other. So
it should be scientific. It should be about innovation, technology, and making people feel safe.
Yeah. I saw that, AMC's open. I'm excited about that. So as a person who is a patron who goes to the theater a lot, so I'm not only in the industry, I'm a customer. I'm excited to go back. But what I plan to do for the cinema.
And by the way, I noticed some of them are now talking about air scrubbers and adding air purification systems, which 3 months ago, nobody was talking about buying those. Yeah. And I feel like maybe that's the tipping point. This pandemic has gone on far enough that now they're going to start investing. And now esports, which I think could be a game changer for a lot of these locations that are underused. Because that's a giant video game screen right there that you could play games on, right?
Yeah, well, the problem that they had early on is that this group of patrons or potential patrons aren't easy to be had. You've got to spend time getting to know them. So it's like dating a pretty girl. You got to take your time, get to know them a little bit. So the cinemas have been traditionally a little lackluster, I guess, at marketing. They're used to the studios spending a lot of money marketing their titles, which would create awareness, and that awareness would drive interest, and that interest would drive people into the cinema, right? Yeah. So now the studios have started to pull back on that. Well, they just expected if they just put some esports content in, that would just drive foot traffic, and it didn't. So I'm hoping that if I can provide online programming for them, whereby they initiate a reaction or an outreach to their loyalty club members and get them engaged online to play in tournaments, that when they do want to bring stuff into a live location, they've already endeared themselves to their customers that, hey, we have esports now. We have other content for you that's not just cinema.
I've seen some of that, like NCM, before the movie, they would play something like play the AR game, right? And play Space Invaders on the screen. But by the time you pull out the phone and load the AR app and try to play the game, it's only up there for like a minute. It's not even enough time to enjoy a game. So it's like we're paying lip service to technology, but we're really not implementing it. And I've seen the same thing with Screen Vision and some of the people that control the advertising in the space. it's not necessarily about, again, innovation. It's about how much money can we get out of the market. And I think, again, that has to change. So if you're really going to dive into esports, you got to invest into teams, into games, into changing a space from a traditional seating to have simulators or to have video game console space for laptops. It will require some level of innovation and investment to get to that next level. I mean, adoption is only going to happen if people find it to be cool and fun. If it's just like, by the time I get this phone out, the AR experience is kind of lame. Nobody's going to do it, right? And
the goal with me is to help.
Sorry, I'm just jumping in with my opinion. That's my role here.
Entities we need to slow down to speed up. So with Screen Vision and NCM, they're driven by their brands, and if a brand gives them an initiative, then they're going to act on it, because at the end of the day, they've got to split that money. So they're not going to just go out willy-nilly split that money if they don't have to. Now, if a brand says, "Hey, I want to be involved in this capacity," then they'll take action.
Because you need a Coca-Cola, like a sponsor, to pay for it. So, and I find that to be, maybe that's what we need for COVID. Like, if I need a better hand sanitation device, right? Like something that's smart, like a Coca-Cola should come in and pay for it, or temperature checking paid for by Blue Cross Blue Shield or something, right? Like a third party comes in, so they can't say, well, we don't want to buy the $30 handheld scanners for our employees, or put the $2,000 camera system. You know,
they can't see an ROI on it.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe there's a marketing play here.
That was one of the reasons that when I created Cinema Esports and the alliance that I created, which is in its infancy, the Cinema Esports Alliance will allow cinemas to join for free.
Oh, really? Okay.
Only if they are going to have esports, either tournaments or LAN center. So they have to sign and commit that they're going to. I'm not just going to give you a free spot if you're not going to have esports. Whereby any of the
is this cinemaesports.com?
It's going to be Cinema Esports Alliance where it's being built right now. I don't think it's live yet.
Oh, okay. You want me to put a banner here so people see it, or I can put it in the notes later?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be live soon. So the cinemas can join for free, and there'll be like things they can fill out about which locations, if they're going to offer live events, so that a person can find them. But more importantly, this is for me to show brands that have reach, because we need brands to support this. And since I'm the brand department person for my company, I'm having these ongoing dialogues, and I can come back to them and say, the Cinema Esports is live, but just the Alliance isn't yet.
Okay. How about Engine Media? So tell me into that.
This is amazing. So I reached out to Engine Media through this Chief Operating Officer, Darcy Lawrence, who I met at, you talk about me being a connector. I went to an esports conference. I didn't know anybody. I'm like wandering around trying to see if I could hear something or kind of chime in. And I was really over my head, out of my pay grade. And I walked by Darcy talking to a lady, didn't know him. And I heard him say something or other, cinema. And I was like, wolf whistle. I back up, snap a picture of his name badge, go off to the corner and look him up on LinkedIn.
You're giving away our trade show secrets. This is how we do it in trade show marketing, but okay.
So that's how I connect him, and I started following him. So I call it like Twilight. I imprinted on it.
Did you use Winmo?
I use Winmo too.
No. Did you use Winmo to find number?
No, I didn't even know about Winmo then. I just found out that recently. Because I was looking to see if I could connect a little more deeper, quicker. So I found it through a friend, and I was like, ding, ding.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy you got something very, very cool going on with these guys.
Yeah. So I followed Darcy, and when I did last year, I did a think tank and a workshop for the cinemas. And in the think tank, one of the companies that Engine Media owned, there's several verticals within Engine Media. And one of the companies they own is a platform called UMG Gaming. And UMG Gaming has 2.5 million subscribers that play Valorant, Rocket League, Gears of War, every different major title that's out there, Madden 2K. We have the license for, so gamers can hop on this site and go play. So we acquired, or Engine Media acquired UMG. UMG spoke at my think tank. So I've been kind of hopping around getting to know these different verticals. Then they acquired Frankly Media. Then they acquired Stream Hatchet, which if you're from the advertising world, you'll know Stream Hatchet is
a company so they can acquire me. Huh.
Yeah, exactly. Stream Hatchet will tell these advertisers how their campaigns are doing. It's a business intelligence for advertising. So we've got all these awesome verticals all combined together. And they look to me and say, Heather, with your connections with the studios, your connection with brands, how you kind of connect the dots with the women in a certain field, I'm a good fit to kind of come on in the middle of them and, invite different people to come play in our space.
Well, here's my pitch. I happen to know he was on the show 2 weeks ago. We'll take 1 second.
Hang on, I'm just gonna.
I happen to know one of the best CEOs in the simulation industry. He was at IAPA as well, and he's just on the show like 2-3 weeks ago from Talent Simulations. And I keep picturing these amazing, simulators, and maybe 8 feet, 10 feet apart, where people can just come in, sit down.
Yeah.
And just imagine a Mario kart game on one of these ginormous IMAX screens, right? That are not being used right now. And you have 16 players on screen. People would pay to have that fun experience, or to rent out you're an important woman. I see you're in high demand right now. I think people would really pay to go have this fun out-of-home experience right now in a safe, secure environment that's been properly sanitized, right? Yeah. And you would leave the home, because the movie theater experience is changing. And let me take a step backwards to that. Look, Disney Plus, now you can buy Mulan for $20 the day it comes out in theaters. I don't have to expose my kids and my family to C-19, right? Yeah. And I can just buy that. And, Universal just announced that they're changing the theatrical window. And this is by their own doing, right? Because really what's happening is there's a ton of independent movie producers and distributors out there that would love to show their movies in the theaters, but they never get selected to be showcased, right? Yeah. So the theater chains, and maybe I'm getting into that side of the business a little bit, they've done this to themselves in the sense that they really want to show the major releases from Disney and Paramount, and
of marketing that drives awareness.
Because they know they're going to spend so much money on, but when you really do the numbers and you do the whole Moneyball thing, sometimes the independents have a better return per screen for these small indie films like IFC than these major $200 million Marvel movies or other things that are coming out. I think they're at a crossroads where they have to adapt, pivot, change, and maybe not rely on the larger companies, because the larger companies are going to say, well, I own my own streaming service, HBO Max or Netflix or whatever. I'm going to go that way. And maybe this esports thing could be huge if done properly. So sorry, I'm a big believer in what you're doing. I love where I see things going when it comes to innovation. And I think it's changing. So what do you tell me? You're the guru. Tell me 3 months, 6 months from now, is there going to be some change? Or are we going to see esports?
Yeah. They'll definitely, if it's a multiplex, they'll definitely be considering retrofitting a screen or two and turning them into an esports type of equipment will be in the room, so they can deliver and they can put stuff up on the screen. There's several big manufacturers that have new products that'll help delivery, so you won't have latency when you watch a stream. So yeah, there'll definitely be some changes.
Good. Are you going to be part of those changes?
Absolutely. So actually, we're putting some stuff together right now, and eBlast will go out to my cinemas this next week about joining our affiliate program, number one. But we need to give them turnkey. So they need to know that when they decide to put this new equipment in their cinema, that they have content. And that's what I was able to do when I sold 4D. And I learned early on when I went to go pick the cinema, they said, great, what movies are we going to get? And I remember call it the RCA puppy, one ear down, one ear up, going, isn't that a you problem? They said, you want to sell your equipment to us, that's a you problem. And then I had to figure out who at the studios. Now, I don't have that cute little list I just showed you for cinemas, because there isn't anything that exists that says, here's all the players in the studios that you're going to call on. I had to figure that out. And that took a lot of sleuthing. But once I got into one studio, I found him, and then kind of found other people that had a similar role at the other studios. But it was
a very marketing partnerships type role, which is constantly changing. There's been so much change. I mean, we don't use Rolodex.
Executives are out.
Yeah, and even on LinkedIn, I looked at LinkedIn, and maybe half my contacts still list a company, but they're in a different company now, or they are looking for something. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of changes happening in media. So when it comes to sponsorship marketing, it really comes down to relationships. Like somebody who's been around and been to all the shows and all the events over the years. And I mean, there's people that are talking, hey, Joel, I can't do anything now, but I'm going to do it with you 4 months from now. You helped me out when you were doing this 10 years ago with Coca-Cola. And I think that's that's really part of the landscape, right? They're going to have to adapt, and you're going to have to go back.
Your contacts, that do they follow you from different places that you?
Oh yeah, from company to company, yeah, and from project to project, and it's funny, like Brightbox, we built a national charging network, and remember, and it was very, back in 2014, we were at IAPA and we're at CES and we're at South by, and we're doing all these great campaigns with brands, Toyota, Coca-Cola, and doing a lot of activations through experiential agencies. And, they've been reaching out. They see me, oh, you're doing Swift Mile now. Like, tell me about it. It's charging. It's different, right? And with technology or sanitization or even with Code Firm, what are you doing in the technology space? Tell me about AR, VR. And that's a conversation I've been having this week a lot about AR and VR and simulations. And I truly feel, let me go back to women in exhibitions and cinema esports. I truly feel that 2020 leading into 2021, you have this ginormous venue, this space, and AR, VR simulations could be huge in cinema. So that's why I'm so interested in what you're doing, because you're connecting the dots to two unrelated industries. And I'm excited to see what are they going to do, because it's one thing to talk, the other one, as you know, walk the walk, right? We have other sayings.
If somebody can provide them with everything, saying, okay,
I have a guy. I have a dude. Let me put him up here. Yeah. You guys check out this guy. He was just on the show 2 weeks ago. I'm going to connect you two so you start talking. Talent simulation.
That's the thing that the cinemas need, because they are like understaffed, and they need to say, if we give you the space for you to do what you do, can you then also give us the content and help us with the marketing? They need really that. So our job will be to help them. And their job is to make sure they have a dedicated person, because gamers can detect when it's not authentic. Yeah. And they will not come back if they go someplace and they're not greeted and talked to and cared for. And I've been there firsthand. So these are the things we'll have to help the cinemas
let's talk about that. So I think we've also reached a new age of hyper local, right? Where I'm not going to travel as much as I used to. And if you're a young team and you don't have a lot of sponsors dollars, which was very difficult before COVID to travel, and let's say you're an all girls 5-player team, which by the way, we should support more girl teams in esports.
We're working on that.
I just watched a really good segment on Vice, on Vice News this week. I'll send it to you. I don't know if you've seen it, but I think we definitely need to support that. I'm going to talk to my game space partners about that. But I think they're not going to be traveling as much as they used to, taking a bus, taking 3 flights to get to LA to go to a tournament. I think the hyper local tournaments could be achieved with these national cinema, whether it's Regal, these chains, Regal or AMC. They have so much space that's unused right now. I think the time is now, because instead, and also there's these stadiums there and arenas that were being custom built and retrofitted for esport tournaments. I don't think we're going to be packing 50,000 people or 20,000 people into an esports arena anymore. Maybe it's a local, hyper local event with 200 people or 100 people spaced out, right? Yeah. And simulators, which are 6, or gaming consoles, which are 6-7 feet apart. And the only way we can achieve that with existing infrastructure would be movie theaters, right? So how are we going to do this? I think it's great.
We start them online and build that relationship with people. So when a cinema joins our Engine Media's affiliate program, they walk. It's like, I use the analogy of nightclubs, right? If you walk into a nightclub where there's no people, you turn around and walk out of the nightclub.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's true. Right.
So these guys are going to say, "Hey, come and play." It'll all be branded for each cinema. It's an affiliate, right? So they give us their logos, they give us their colors, and then each room looks exactly like their theater. So they send out a note to their loyalty club members, and loyalty person decides to go ahead and create an account. When he walks into that room, there's 2.5 million people for him to play with. So he's not going to walk into empty tournaments. If he wants to go play in the tournament, he wants to play Rocket League, he wants to play League of Legends, he wants to play CSGO, he wants to play Valorant. There's somebody already in there creating tournaments. He's like, oh, I'm going to go play in this one. And then the prize pools are already put together by us. So there's $10,000 to win in that one. I'm entering that one. So we give them a great way to get it.
Really exciting stuff that you're working on.
And then that's that communication. So then when a cinema says, hey, we're now going to do a ladder, and it's going to be a regional, and it's going to be localized for the finals, then it makes sense for the cinema to have a little LAN center, one of its retrofitted screens. And they've spent the time educating their customer. Where before they thought they could do a finals, which some of the cinemas actually, they told me when I did my workshop, they were interviewed after the workshop, said, tell us what you have done in the past that hasn't worked and what you're hoping to accomplish. And several of them said, well, we did this great big tournament. We thought it was just going to bring in esports people. They came for the tournament, they left. So this is going to take some time. It's not a quick fix. So
but I do feel that some people are bringing innovation. And again, I see your posts. I saw your Sunday Zoom chat with all the women around the world. I think you're doing great.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to highlight that. I hope to hear some great things. I'm going to connect you with the guys at Talon. Yeah. In the meantime, maybe since it's the end of the episode, post-COVID world, anything you're watching, reading, what are you doing to stay, from going crazy?
My guilty pleasure, I'm watching Selling Sunset. Is killing me.
Oh, on Netflix.
I've been having fun. I never binge watched before. So now I've been
down the street in North Hollywood. That's not too far.
Yeah. And it's very funny because I just totally get it. I get everything about that show. It just kills me. And as far as dealing with realtors or even dealing with sales. But I've had fun binge watching different shows.
Hollywood's a different world. It's like Miami Beach. Reality, I don't know if it's real a lot of people cannot relate,
It's pretty spot on, but that's a fun one. So I've just had fun binge watching a little bit, and I'll get through that one and go to the next one. And whoever suggests what shows out there, I'll go watch it.
Any other technology that you think will emerge in movie theaters in the next 6 months to a year? Anything interesting that we should be aware of?
I don't know. I got all my eggs in the esports basket, so if it's probably going to go right over me because
television's not coming back.
All I know is this: my women in exhibition. That's something I'm also hanging my hat on. By all means, anybody that's in this industry that sees your podcast, yeah. I invite. It is very friendly. We've made it where when we socialize, we make it about women hanging out. And when we hang out, it's a love fest. Women can be really kind to each other when they're just given the opportunity. So we do these like once or twice a month, we do these social happy hours. And I invite what I call FOHs, Friends of Heathers. And I have lots of.
I like that. That's cute. I like that.
Yeah. And I always ask them, will you talk to my lady friends? And then I get these great people to come talk to my lady friends. And we have an hour's worth of just fun. And I just can't wait to the next one. They're like, who's next? I'm like, I don't know. Let me go back into my little file of people that I've kind of met over my life and invite them and see if they'll share with us. And it's fun. And we're going to do.
I do hope to see you again live at a trade show soon. That's it for our show. We ran out of time. Okay. But I do want to thank you so much for coming. I do hope that we get to see each other in the real world again, as they say. And again, Engine Media, contact Heather Blair on LinkedIn or on her websites. And thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right.
So,
always a pleasure. Shout out.
Shout out.
Thanks for watching and join us next week on Tech Fireside Chats.